All right, what's up, everybody? We're here for another episode of House of I-10, and man, do I got a interesting episode for you all. So, we try to keep it light around here, at least this time, and we're going to talk about what everybody's talking about, whether you're in college, NFL, and that is Deion Sanders has left Jackson State University, and he is going to Colorado. And so I brought a few of my friends along who are more experts on the matter than I am. I'm about the history. So why this is important, I'm gonna definitely tell everybody to read this book. If you're a coach, if you have teammates, just playing football, if you're interested in the history of the downfall of HBCUs in football, you got to pick up $40 million slaves. They also talk about basketball and the things too. And we're gonna kind of go over some things in this segment today. So everybody knows me, host of the show, Ignoxton Thomas, owner of House of I-10. Y'all been with me, rocking with me, and I appreciate y'all. But I brought my friends along, and I'm going to actually let them introduce themselves real quick. And we're going to start off with who I feel is the expert in the room, and that is Coach Bullock. Coach Bullock, tell the people who you are.
So my name is Gino Bullock. I am currently a teacher at Gadsden County High School. I have coached high school football for approximately 15 years. I have coached college football as a graduate assistant at Central Methodist University for 2 years. And I've also held positions as athletic director at both the high school and middle school levels. And so I'm appreciative of this opportunity to discuss what I feel is a very, very important topic.
All right. Next, we'll do Javaughn Matthews. How's it going, brother?
Hey, what's going on, y'all? It's your boy Javaughn Matthews, aka VA Hope Bizzle. I'm just an avid, football fan. I used to play a little football here and there, but now I am a couch potato and I watch it every weekend. That is every Saturday and Sunday. I'm a super duper diehard Jets fan, and I support my HBCU. So you might see where I'm going on this one.
All right. We got Larry Harris. Larry Harris, can tell the people who you are. Thank you for joining on the call.
All right. Pleasure being here. My name is Larry Harris, native New Yorker, lifetime Dallas Cowboys fan. So, I'm just here to hear, some of these opinions, I guess, based on fact, based on, what people feel. So I'm just here to put my input in and see what direction we're going to go in.
Most definitely. All right, so we just gonna jump into it, man. We gonna talk about Deion, and how do you feel he did for HBCUs? If you feel like he did something positive for HBCUs, and what do you think about his career? And is this a good move for him? I'll let you know right now. I don't knock his move. But I just think Colorado wasn't the right team, and I don't know if it's gonna work out in the way he thinks it's gonna work out. But I'll let y'all build on that first. So you can go ahead and jump in. Whoever wants to start off, you can go ahead. Matter of fact. Oh, go ahead, Larry. Go ahead. You got it.
Nah, I'm gonna jump in. I'm just saying like this. I think he obviously did some positive for HBCUs. He brought them in a higher limelight. He brought a lot of attention to them. And he kind of created like a blueprint on maybe how other schools can use the resources or even make the most of the lack of resources. So he definitely did something positive. I really don't have an issue with him taking the Colorado job. It's not my favorite football team, obviously, but I mean, the man, if he can do what he did at Jackson State, and if he can do something like that in Colorado, obviously the FBSs have a lack of black college football coaches anyway. I mean, we always screaming for black football coaches in the NFL and then, on the college level. So the percentage is so low of black football coaches in the FBS schools that, I mean, it's worth a shot. And he has the aura, he has the name. I mean, he can recruit, so it's a challenge, yeah. But I don't see why people say, "Oh, he sold out." I mean, I understand they putting the whole HBCU football on one man's shoulders. You got other NFL players that are affiliated with HBCUs. They might not be as in the limelight as Deion. They might not be getting commercials like Deion, but I mean, it's a lot of resources. They just got to get together and maximize it. You can't put that all on one man because he want to go and move on.
Well, that's part of what we have in this community. We have a Messiah complex. If everybody wants one person, they want to follow that one person. And as soon as that Messiah is gone, then it's like, dang, now you left me here. Now I have to really step up and do something. Or, I have to be forced with, I'm just about to fade back to the black. So, that's where I think that people are, why they calling them a sellout. I don't think it's right that they call them a sellout, but nonetheless, they are. So, Gino, Coach Bullock, tell us how you feel.
Well, I personally think that first, by and large, I think that it should be stated that Deion Sanders didn't get the cachet that he has now, in the name and the recognition that he has, because they just thought that they would just give it to a guy named Deion. I think it's very important to acknowledge that he's arguably the best football player to ever put on a pair of cleats, and that's all positions. He dominated the NFL when he came in, and he dominated on his way out. So I think that between being a two-sport athlete and all the different things that he has accomplished, I think he earned the right to have the cachet and the name and the image and the likeness and so forth. I think that he left HBCUs by and large tenfold better than he found them. He went to a place called Jackson State, and if people would be honest, most people don't even know where Jackson, Mississippi is. They can't even identify, quantify, tell you anything about Jackson, Mississippi. They couldn't tell you. So he went to a hole-in-the-wall place that had rich tradition, had some very, very good NFL players that had an opportunity to go to the NFL, and some just good players all around, but just was on the decline, as was HBCU football. So I think that he made HBCU football better by and large across the nation, and he definitely made Jackson State football better. And I know we'll get into this a little bit later, but he revolutionized or transformed the way many kids in this generation, in this era, view historically Black colleges, regardless of the cachet and the prestige of HBCUs. People in the 80s and 90s view HBCUs totally different than the millennial kids, the 2010s, the 2020s. So I think he reignited a fire or the hunger and desire to attend historically Black college. And I'll wait till we get into the part about making a good decision or a bad decision, but that's my take on how he improved HBCUs.
Most definitely. I appreciate that. Brother Matthews, what do you have to say? How do you feel? And I'm gonna also let you start our next question. If he owes anything more to HBCUs, what does that look like?
All right. Well, so this question is, how do I feel about his decision?
Yeah, how do you feel about his decision? Is he a sellout like people saying? Did he do enough for it? Like, let us know.
I'm gonna give it up. I feel hurt. I feel robbed. I feel like the stereotypical, how the saying go, when he get on, he leave your ass for a white girl.
A white girl. yeah.
And he didn't just leave us for a white girl, LA white girl, or Miami white girl, or New York white girl. He left us for a Colorado white girl. Now, come on. Mm-hmm. That's how we giving it up. This is what we doing. And I will concur with you, Brother Ignatin. You said the Messiah complex, and that is true. I mean, we do have a Messiah complex, and there are other people that came out of HBCUs that have a light on them every day. Shannon Sharp, where you at, man? Where you at? You came out of HBCU, you made yourself. You was a Pro Bowler, a Super Bowler out of an HBCU. That shows that there's talent there. Now, granted, he had an older brother that was in the PWI, but this is just like, come on, man. You leaving it. The city's going to fall apart. The city already ain't have water. Now, you had to lean on Walmart to get the stadium built, to get the locker room built, and that would not happen for any other coach. But it happened for you prime time because you prime time. You brought that there. So now you left. Now,
Okay.
mark my words.
This
Mark
is
my
gonna be
words.
All right,
Mark my
so-
words
be
now.
good.
So-
Mark
so
my
hold
words.
up.
No, hold on. Mark my words now. Mark my words. Now, when LeBron James left Cleveland the first time, revenue in the city of Cleveland went down extremely. Watch the same thing happen in Jackson State now.
Okay, so the question.
Hold on 1 second. 1 second, Gino. So, and you can ask the question after this. So, is Deion a hypocrite for the message that he sent to Isaiah Land, where he stated this? This is when Isaiah Land was about to transfer for fam and go to another school. This is flat out wrong. You go into the portal because you don't think you can go pro from an HBCU? Well, a few went yesterday and over 20 went from FCS schools. Be the change that we all desire. Don't run from the challenge. Willie Simmons is a great coach and does an amazing job with exposing his kids and preparing them. I pray he changes his mind and goes back to FAMU because ain't no sure thing you're going to get the reps, exposure, and recognition somewhere else. Just because it looks green don't mean it's grass. Coach Bullock, I'm going to pass it over to you.
Okay, but it's a lot to unpack. First, to Brother Matthew's point, Deion doesn't deserve the right to bear the burden of Jackson State, Mississippi, or Jackson, Mississippi. There are some large, ginormous failures as it relates to making sure the city and, more importantly, the folks in the athletic arena in that particular part of the country make sure those folks had what they needed. Number one. Number two, if I'm not mistaken, they have a SWAC commissioner. They also have an athletic director, a president, board of commissioners, et cetera, mayor, et cetera. So there is a lot to unpack there, but let me just say, I feel, without having any inside knowledge, that Jackson State did not do their level best to keep him there and to provide him with some great incentives to stay. Now, as it relates, and I really want to get into that, but as it relates to the question you posed about Isaiah Land, I think what Deion did is he used, or Coach Prime, he used his football acumen and his his vernacular to basically state that the best place for Isaiah Land at that particular time may have been at Florida A&M. Florida A&M was where he received a lot of his exposure. Florida A&M and the people that Florida A&M were playing, the teams they were playing, fit, and Florida A&M's defensive philosophy and skill set, it fit what Isaiah Land was doing. His skill set matched where he was. And oftentimes when we go other places, it doesn't always work out the way we envision it to work out. Not taking anything away from Isaiah Land, not diminishing his skills one bit, but there are a lot of people at that position that Isaiah Land was playing that got in the transfer portal and did not have success. There are some that did. So I think he was speaking from a standpoint of someone who has played and achieved at the highest level and understood the trials and the triumphs that would come his way, and also Isaiah Land's position as it relates to his classification. As a junior and a senior, that's the times that you try to make the most out of your career, especially if you're trying to transition to the next level. That's not the time that you want to gamble on your future. So I think what he was stating, or what he was trying to articulate, is don't leave the place where you're receiving the notoriety and the love and the respect that you covet, and don't leave a place that is going to breed or create an opportunity for you to continue playing football. That's the answer to that question. But I really want to go back to what Javaughn said as it relates to, is he a sellout? Did he leave? And I don't want to get too far ahead in the conversation, but my question is,
Wait. Well, hold on, wait. Just to be clear, Brother Matthews, you feel like he's a sellout, or do you just feel like him leaving will hurt HBCU?
Oh, I feel like him leaving will hurt HBCUs. I don't feel like he's a sellout because although like he always kept it real. I'll throw Deion some grace on this one. Deion did say that if an offer was to come up, he would entertain it. He did say that. I gotta call spade a spade on that one. But what I will say is that message that he gave to that kid about that portal, what if that is about himself? Now, you need to stay where you at when you're getting praised that you're not going to a big time program. You're going to Colorado.
I beg to differ.
You're going to Colorado now. Your ass might get cooked up and fried now. You might get cooked up and thrown out. And I'm just saying.
There's a thing that says the same thing that'll make us laugh or make us cry.
And really might.
So just I'm gonna bring pose a couple points. First, let's talk about Colorado. I have had the unique pleasure of living in Colorado. Quick point to make a reference. We don't know what opportunities he had on the table. We don't know what was his decision-making process as it relates to how he narrowed down what choices he had or whatever the case. It's also important to note that Deion Sanders, Coach Sanders, wasn't he was very, very financially secure. He wasn't hurting for any money. So that's important to know. Everybody's getting up in arms about $5 million. And I do believe wholeheartedly that making money is important. That's why people like Jeff Bezos continue to work, because money is important. Elon Musk, et cetera, et cetera. Here's my point. Earlier, I asked some questions off record about Colorado and historically Black colleges. So my question would be, if there are tons of Black kids in Colorado, which there are, do they deserve an opportunity to be coached by a Black head coach? And if they do deserve that opportunity, should he go to a more prominent school in Colorado, or should he go to the Colorado University of Colorado, where he has been coveted, where he's been, where they have rolled out the red carpet to not only express their interest, but to show a certain level of interest and where he can have an impact. I think that there are many kids in the state of Colorado as a whole that will benefit from a man that looks like them going into a state where, by and large, there's not a great disparity of African Americans, Latino Americans leading major programs, college football programs. That's point one. Point two is we want him to be an ambassador for change. The reason why it was so important for him to go to HBCUs is because he took his cachet, his limelight, to be an ambassador for change. But don't we want the same impact in the Power 5 spectrum? Don't we want the same impact in college football, in major college football? I give you a couple examples. Kevin Sumlin coached at Texas A&M University. Not long ago, there was a broadcaster who showed his record versus Jimbo Fisher's record. At that time, Kevin Sumlin had won more games than Jimbo Fisher. However, Kevin Sumlin was terminated. David Shaw just resigned from the University of Stanford. Willie Taggart was given 2 seasons and was fired, was terminated. At FSU, he was given 3 seasons at FAU and was terminated. And those are just some of the coaches I know off the top of my head. But there are many coaches in this profession that have been at predominantly white institutions that have maybe not been given the greatest opportunity, or maybe had the longevity or the benefit of longevity to potentially turn a program around. Does not mean that they were deserving or undeserving of being fired. Just means, for whatever reason, they weren't given an extended invitation or extended opportunity to try to turn a program around. So if all those things being what they are, I think that we have to look at, we're almost like being very hypocritical when we say, when Deion takes an opportunity to now create that same level of fairness to bring light and attention to the NCAA Power 5 spectrum. I think we're being hypocritical if we don't advocate or if we are not in appreciation of that, or if we can't recognize that that's part of what he's doing.
So what say you, Brother Harris? Colorado 1-8, as you've seen from the statistics. They only had 2 winning seasons since 2006. What are the chances that Deion is actually going to get out there and make Colorado the powerhouse that it needs to be? Granted, to Javaugh's point, he did say that his goal is to get to a Power 5. And Pac-12 is a Power 5. So what do you think about that, Brother Harris?
I mean, obviously it's not going to change overnight, but I think kind of to what Gino was saying, it's a challenge. It's going to be a challenge. It's not nothing that you're going to step in and it's going to like turn, the page is going to turn overnight. So it can't get any worse. But what I'm saying is, if the same blueprint that he did for the HBCUs, if he can take that momentum and take, his brand and do that for Colorado or do that for the Black athletes that, may be struggling in certain areas but can still get on the football field out on the West Coast, or if he can just bring some sort of, I don't think it's as much for the school as I think opportunities for the athletes. There's probably a whole untapped market of Black athletes that can play football that are in that area that may go to other schools just to sit on the bench, just to say, I went to UCLA or I went to, USC and not really play. So now Deion has that magnetism the way he's saying, hey, God, why are you sitting on the bench for 2-3 years when you can get you some highlight reels over here in Colorado because I'm changing the program. So I just think it's a good move for the kids. HBCUs, as transparent as I can be, they're going to always struggle in 2 or 3 areas when you match them up with predominantly white institutions because their resources aren't going to be financially up to that level. The stadiums aren't going to have that glamour. They're not going to have that look. The weight rooms, the food, the attention is going to be different. So they were struggling before Deion. And they're going to have their struggles after Deion leaves. So that's just something that is going to be hard to control, the resources, the financial thing. You got an Ohio State recruiting you, and you got North Carolina Central, and it's hard to beat that Ohio State machine. Even if you're not starting for 2 years, they'll rather say, yeah, I played with Ohio State, because they only need 1 year good. It's like going to Florida State. You could get 1 year good film or make, certain plays for 1 year and still get drafted. So they rather take that chance than maybe go to a HBCU and things of that nature. But I don't mind what Deion's doing. I hope he got a game plan. But I think for the African-American athletes out there in the West, I think that's a wake-up call. I think it should present a lot of opportunities for kids that want to get on the field and play. The team has a losing record. So it's not like Alabama where you got like boom, 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 boom. It's opportunities for these kids to play. So, let's get them on the field. Let's get them scholarships, and let's get them some film to get them to the NFL, get them in Canada, the Arena League, so they can support their families. I don't see what the issue is.
I know Javaughn chomping at the bit. Go ahead, jump in. I see him over there itching.
It's just a lot of valid points here, and then it started. I caught myself in a wormhole in my own head. Like, was this just a white man's conspiracy to take us down yet again, and did we fall for it again? Like, all right, now hold on now. Y'all brought up some valid points. Y'all did brought up some valid points for the pros of him taking this position. And yes, we get another Black head coach in D1 single A sports, Power 5 programs and stuff like that. That's great. That's great. And it might inspire more Black kids to, come to Colorado, or the kids in Colorado that are of African-American descent to, want to go to this school. It may switch some things around, switch the culture around, and may make this like a pro-Black movement in Colorado. These things may happen. I agree with you. My problem with that is this, though. All right, here's my problem. Yeah, also, like Gino brought up a note that said, like, the Black head coach coaches aren't getting the grace to mess up and the time period in that position to turn a program around. If 1 or 2 seasons go by and they ain't above 500, they up out of there. But at the HBCUs, at the black schools, you get a little more time. You get more grace to build the program. You get time to shift things around. So you get space and breathing room to actually build something. It's not overnight. It's not microwavable over there. This is out the oven. You know what I'm saying? This is Thanksgiving over there. Another thing is this, though. My man, brother Larry over here, he brought up the point of saying like, oh, they seen what he was doing at the black school, so we back to test it out on the blacks first, and if it works over there, then maybe we could bring him over to the whites to see what he do. We ain't gonna bring him to a super duper program that's in need. Like we ain't gonna bring him to Miami or nothing like that. We gonna bring him to Colorado, see how he do over there. They 1-8. They ain't been winning since forever. You know what I'm saying? So let's just test them out there. Let's test them out there.
Oh,
Because
you can't really say that.
Look at this. Black schools.
Wait, I just want to pose a question.
His secret recipe. Let me finish. Let me just interject this real quick. The secret recipe was working at the black school. So let's take it over here. And then here's the other side of it too. Here's the other coin that got me in my conspiracy mind. I'm thinking like, the D1 single A program, that's all white, that we all know of, right? They seem like, oh man, this man Primetime out here building the buzz. We getting, top 5-star athletes actually considered HBC programs. This could dwindle the funding to our schools programs in the future if more and more athletes decide to go pro-black, which would bring more funding to the black programs, which would give them the assets they need to be better players to make it to the league. It's like, how can you complain about us not having it when you steady stripping our natural resources to go to the white man's ice?
All right, so let me ask you this: Do you think Taggart was a sellout because he coached at FSU and not at HBCU?
I'm not saying he's a sellout.
Javaughn never said you.
I didn't say he's a sellout. I never said he was a sellout.
He took it. You saying that Taggart could have took his resources instead of trying to change FSU around like he had Oregon running, and he could have went to an HBCU itself. So why ain't he get the flack?
I'm saying, I'm saying what Taggart is obviously. What happened in Oregon was lightning in the bottle because it hasn't happened there. It hasn't happened for Taggart ever since Oregon. Didn't happen in FSU. It ain't happening in FAU. And they getting them out every 2 years. He New Jersey.
Okay, but new sideline. I want to respond to a couple of points you got, Javaughn and Larry. I thought y'all brought some very interesting takes. But before I pose this question, here's the question I have for you. I just want y'all to answer this, and then I'm gonna put my point out. If, as an administrator of HBCU school, if there's let's say you have a national search on for positions of influence, scholarship chair, state funding chair, people that help bring in money for school resources, etc. And you have a Caucasian male who has experience at vastly great levels, who has a track record, a proven track record to bring in funding to that's his area of expertise. Do you pass on him because he's a white male?
No.
Okay. No. All right. So we all agree that HBCUs have, by and large, have the same opportunity to hire the most qualified person. And it still doesn't change the trajectory of being.
Don't agree with that point.
No,
they don't agree with that.
I don't think they have the chance.
Okay. Well, wait a minute.
They probably can't afford a lot of the quality people.
Okay. Well, let me finish my point. Okay. All right.
They already fighting the uphill battle too because of the stigma.
Okay, wait.
So here's my mythological stigma. The mythological stigma.
So let me address what you said. So you said, how are we going to get the players that we need to bring the HBCU level of football up to then be able to make players draftable, etc., like bringing in 5 stars. So here's my dilemma to the statement that you made. Number one, if I have someone that has a proven track record of being successful, right? and they are at my disposal. I am not saying that there aren't qualified African Americans or Latino Americans. I'm saying I put out information that I need a commissioner, a director, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And if I base it on the resumes of the folks that apply, most times the best person or the person with the most experience and a proven track record, if they are not Black, they don't get the opportunity at a HBCU. That's not because they don't want to go. I happen to have some inside knowledge on a particular institution where there was a Caucasian male who applied for a position of prominence, wanted the job because of the geographic location, was not interested in the money per se because he was already well off, and was turned down and was shunned, and they hired someone else who couldn't hold up a resume, couldn't put a resume nearly next to his. So then, when we criticize the lack of resources, when we criticize the lack of opportunities, when we criticize, we also have to criticize the decision making by the folks who are making decisions, i.e., the SWAC commissioner, commissioners by and large, the SEC commissioner. Why do we love him so much? Why do we love these commissioners at these Power 5 schools? Because they go and lobby and fight for television time, for television rights, for contracts, et cetera, et cetera. Right now, the country's up in arms because they feel as though Alabama should be in the national playoff. The SEC commissioner is going to go berserk, and he's going to lobby for Alabama to be in. But why aren't the African-American commissioners and the people of influence and people of power not lobbying the same way that these other commissioners are? Prime example, Deion Sanders, this is proven, this is documented. He went helping other HBCUs in the conference. They weren't smart enough to join in with him and try to acquire some of his contacts and resources to build their own programs. Example, if the SWAC commissioner would have went to Jackson State and sat down with Deion and said, tell me how I can get Walmart and Under Armour and these different places to help the entire HBCU, the HBCU community would have been an uproar. They would have felt as though he has a geographical advantage, how they're showing favoritism, etc. Instead of looking at the standpoint that you now have someone who can reach out and touch people of power and prominence to bring help and change for the magnitude. So we can't say that, by him leaving, he's weakening or watering down the program and getting the athletes. We can't hold him accountable for that and then pass on the accountability for these people who are making decisions, board of directors, presidents who are making these decisions and who keep haphazardly hiring people because they're African-American and they're not the best qualified person. Because that, to me, that's an oxymoron. If we're trying to change the landscape and the culture of, let's use FAMU. We're trying to change the landscape and culture of FAMU. Willie Simmons is being paid $300-something thousand. That's public record. How is he to turn down $600,000 at an Power 5 program institution? I mean, does he not deserve an opportunity to advance and make himself better? There are people at FAMU and other places who FAMU has some of the most notable celebrities in the world. You mean to tell me that they can't reach out to these celebrities and pool their resources to raise money to keep a Willie Simmons there, to raise his salary to $500,000? But the problem always will be the optics. It will always be the optics. It will always be how it's viewed. How can the football coach make more than the president? Whereas at a public white institution, Nick Saban, Kirby Smarts, all of those guys make more than the president, make more than the athletic director. And you know what? They don't care because it's for the greater good. So we have to pass blame at the top on down. Deion was there and he made himself readily accessible for every HBCU program in the country. He opened his arms and said, if you have a question, if you have a concern, if there's something I can do, here I am. So we can't penalize him for people not going to get the help.
So let me jump in here because so you just talked about the monies that the other coaches make at PWI. So Nick Saban makes $10 million. Dabo Swinney makes $10 million. Kirby Smart, $10 million. and Brian Kelly $9.8 million. They're the highest paid coaches in NCAA. So what do, and I feel where you're going with the celebrities, right? But Deion Sanders also brought up another very interesting point, because my question is going to be, what needs to happen for these athletic coaches to get paid more than they are? And
it's mismanagement of resources.
Hold on, wait, real quick. So Deion Sanders actually brought up an interesting point where he said that part of the issue is alumni. Alumni don't give back. He stated that across the board, I think 7% or 10% of the total alumni across HBCUs give back to the institution. So if you flip that number on his head, you're saying that 87% or 90% of alumni that graduate from their beloved HBCUs do not contribute any funds to that. So how do we tap into that? And is that what the difference maker is? And how do we get these coaches more money? Go ahead, Larry.
I mean, that's a part of the thing. And I'm not trying to be funny, because I'm not at every HBCU. I didn't go to HBCU. But what I'm saying is, and Gino might have alluded to this, you always seem, it's kind of like you see a lot of stuff at HBCUs that you see in Black communities. It's always some sort of like internal competition. It's always somebody trying to take a position for a title, but not necessarily doing the work. And then at times you always see some sort of scandal or some of mismanagement with the money. FAMU's first game against North Carolina, they couldn't even shoot up half the football team. So how does a five-star recruit, how is that entertaining for him to be like, damn, but what's going on with this? I'll go to somewhere like North Carolina State or North Carolina, even if I got to sit on the bench. I'm not saying those schools are,
right.
don't have issues, but what I'm saying, when HBCUs have issues, it's 10 times more detrimental to that school than it is for like Ohio State or like a Florida State or something like that. Because you got to understand, the reason they could pay Nick Saban and Sweeney and all those coaches is because once they go to the bowl game, they're getting 20, 30 million to the program. Most of that goes to the football, and then it goes to the school, but they're getting 10, 20 million dollars for bowl games because they got
contract rights, TV rights, all those things.
One bowl game could pay almost 2-3 years of Nick Saban's salary. So his 10 million is really like, it sounds like a lot, but in the bigger realm of things, it's like, that's why FSU put so much pressure on targeting them, because they like, hey man, we ain't getting to the bowl game. We missed out on $10, $20 million a year that we already got budgeted. We got this new stadium we paying for. We got to get somebody in here to change this around quick. So their leash is real short. Now,
Larry, to your point, AK, before you jump in, point.
Yeah. I wanted to make sure that we get Javaughn in on this part.
Yeah.
Since he is an HBCU graduate.
Let Gino go. Then I have one more little point about the diversity thing too, because I'll just say that and I'll let Gino go. But you have to look at it. The HBCU's faculties are far more diverse than the PWIs. They're like 56% Black, 24% white, and then it goes down to Asians. When you go to PWIs, which is the barrier that Deion is trying to break, then you go to like 68, 70% white, and then it trickles down to 8, 9, 10% Black. So Deion is actually trying to break through a barrier that is predominantly controlled by whites. So that for him, I couldn't even see him being a seller. I think it's a brave move because he's going to a losing team. He's going to predominantly a PWI. When you go to look at the faculty numbers, and you can check it out on Forbes, the diversity for hiring and faculty for HBCUs is far more diverse than PWI. So for me, this is more of a challenge for Deion than a sellout, because if he breaks through this barrier, then he could bring in the Eddie Georges. He could recommend these people, and people will have somebody else to listen to and bump for because of what he's doing.
Go ahead, Gino. I know you want to touch on a point.
And I just want to say, as it relates to Florida and them, we can use them because some stuff is in the media and so forth. And I know just a wee bit. I don't know a bunch. But prime example of why celebrities, you said, how do we get celebrities to be involved, right?
No. I said, I understand your point about celebrities, but I think a larger, more important point is that we get those 90% or 87% of the alumni who don't get back to the school to get back to the school.
So let's look at FAMU, for instance. So you have a lot of people who contrastingly have graduated from FAMU and did astronomically well for themselves. You have some 1%ers in that group. You have one compliance or two compliance people in FAMU prior to the situation with North Carolina. How does that happen at an institution, at a prestigious institution, arguably the second best from an athletic standpoint, and this could be debatable, but right now, the second best football team in the country is, and from an HBCU standpoint, is Florida A&M University. So how does that happen? Second point is, when things like that happen, that lessens or that puts doubt in the people who would normally need to contribute to help boost or bolster those particular resources. The other point is, why don't we focus more on, and Larry made a good point, he alluded to the internal bickering, the internal fighting, etc. And it happens all over the country. But we don't focus on trying to reach out and gather and gain as many resources from the standpoint of these $1 million endorsements and these $1 billion. We have unlimited resources around this country, for instance, and these things may have already taken place, I don't know. But we have all sorts of resources in the Tallahassee surrounding area. Why aren't they giving those resources, which are typically tax write-offs, to places like Florida A&M and Bethune-Cookman and these different historically Black colleges? Well, do you have confidence in them to manage the funds correctly? One, to appropriate those funds correctly. Two, and is there going to be some internal confusion, discombobulation if you're able to secure those things? And then, does your performance as whether you're an AD, a coach, a professor, does your performance outweigh your personal vendetta? Because there are people who have the ability to bring revenue to Florida A&M and to increase the revenue to keep a coach like a Willie Simmons. But does it become a tug of war for the powers that be? Because maybe I don't necessarily see eye to eye with you. I'm proficient at my job and I'm producing. So I think we have to ask those questions. LeBron James agreed to put his logo on FAMU's jerseys in there. So why aren't we tapping? Chad Johnson is always why aren't we tapping into those particular resources? And the question should be asked, why aren't the people who have the resources, because it's a write-off, why aren't the people who have the resources donating to FAMU? Why are they donating to these other places, to the Florida States of the world, to the Miamis of the world? Why aren't the people who have the resources, who maybe came from FAMU or maybe want to contribute, why aren't they contributing to places like that? Why?
So,
why aren't we?
I think the answer to your question is, if we're talking about FAMU did try to do that up under the AD of Courtney Gaucher. That's how LeBron got here. Remember, he got let go because of that NASCAR issue. And so
okay, stop right there. I want you stop right there because I want you to answer this. So Courtney Gaucher makes a mistake, purposely or not, right, wrong, whatever the situation happens. Why is he not allowed grace? We finally get a person who seems to be affluent in what they're doing, who seems to understand the dynamic of college football, who seems to have the cachet and the power to bring in multi-million-dollar support, and he makes a mistake, right or wrong. Why aren't we, instead of terminating him or creating such a divide where he feels as though he has to leave? And of course, I don't know the inside, but why aren't we trying to say, you know what, we're going to deal with this issue, we're going to fix it, and we're going to try our best to not do this anymore? Whereas at these other schools, there's room for grace. At the Nick Sabans of the world and these other places, it ain't terminating you right away. When your performance dictates success, there's some grace involved. So why didn't we afford him the same grace so that he can continue to ascend Florida A&M to the level that it deserves.
I mean, I'm
personally-
100%. I would say I'm 100% with you, but I would just say this is the last thing. We don't ask. That's really what the biggest issue is. When I studied fundraising, when I was trained in fundraising, they said the best method and approach to fundraising is to figure out the 10 people that are in your immediate circle, whether they're friends, whether they're families, whether they're coworkers. And when you have to do an ask, you start with the people that's in your immediate vicinity. I think that some of our HBCUs are not thriving because they're simply not sending out enough pamphlets or information saying, hey, you neighbor, if you live within the vicinity, hey, you alum, hey, you friend of the institution, hey, you Fortune 500, here's what we need. And we think that you can help by securing this donation, a platinum, bronze, whatever level sponsor, and doing that on multiple facets. So you give the Fortune 500 companies a particular threshold, you give the neighbors around the community, hey, $5, $10, anything helps message. Then you give the alumni, if it's 1887, if it's 1866, whether that's $18.66 or whether that's 1,866. The point and the fact of the matter is that the axe needs to occur, and the axe does not occur more often than not. But I'm gonna go ahead and kick it over to Javaughn, because he is the HBCU alum on here, former football player. So what is it that our HBCUs need to fill this gap, to be able to pay the coaches these competitive wages? And on top of coaches, we just talking about anybody in any part of the institution to keep them to stay.
All right, it's a lot that goes into that. It's a lot that goes into that. And one of the major reasons that HBCU coaches aren't getting paid as much as coaches in other schools, or that are even not HBCU, not even single A schools, it is HBCUs are education first. We don't have the liberty to be like, we could throw a lot of money into the athletics program, because we want our students to be, education first. We want that. That's where a lot of our funding does go to. And on the other side of it is they do. I mean, I will admit myself, I get those alumni emails damn near every week asking for money, and sometimes I reply, and then other times they go to the trash, and that's just another that to be real, Black people can't prioritize donations as much as the whites could in the world. I will say that. That's my opinion. And that's
based on
why
what?
we don't have.
Why do you feel like that? Why do you feel like that?
Whoa!
I really feel like that.
The 1.8 trillion spending consume that 1.8 trillion dollars.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's real. Yeah, it's spending on us. It's spending on us. It's spending selfishly. It's not spending on the things that made us. That's why we have issues where we don't buy the block. We don't buy the block, and we don't look at the tax benefits of donating. We don't understand that. We don't look at it. This is all still a new game for us, and that is part of our issue.
But this is what I'm saying, Javaughn. To your point, Javaughn.
Hold on. Hey, yo, let him finish. Because if we talk back and forth, it's a lot of chaos. So let him go ahead and finish his point. Real quick.
I was just gonna say to his point, the HBCUs are reflective of the Black community.
I agree with you, but
it's reflected. So now you could go on, but I just want to throw that in.
The other side of it is,
Larry, let him finish, bro. We gonna get to you. You're gonna be able to flesh it all out.
The other side of it is that, yes, there are scandals that happen at HBCUs, but it's a bigger issue for us, because we don't have as much money to play as the white schools, because there are scandals where people are stealing money and skimming money or committing fraudulent expenses at these PWIs. But it's easier to go under the record because they have a bigger purse to play with. Whereas if an issue goes down and there's money being skimmed off the top of the HBCU, it's going to make a bigger headline, because that money is now, all right, now the dorms are falling apart. Now we have molding issues here. Now half the team can't even play the first game because the funding isn't there, because there's a fraudulent transaction or something like that. There's these type of issues. It creates a bigger stain on us, and that's why that that's what I'm saying. You can't really compare it to because it happens there, but they have more to play with out there, and they're able to still keep the engine running. Whereas if it happens on us, it's going to create a huge malfunction, and it's going to make a headline. But I will say, like, we can do better at donating to our schools. But the other thing is that when we donate to our schools, it's going to go to education first. It's not going to go to athletics. HBCU wants to produce more people that are going to be like in career fields that's not involved with athletics. They want to produce more doctors, more nurses, more dentists, more, Fortune 500 companies. They want to produce that versus a superstar athlete, because the chances of you being a superstar athlete is still a pipe dream. And when you do it, it's only going to last you 5 years or so. So it's like they'd rather you throw the funding in something that's going to create more people being successful on a longer term. So that's where the funding is going to go first.
So I got a question because I don't know the answer to this, and maybe y'all do. So I know at FSU, you have the funding that you could donate to the institution, like you want to donate to the School of Political Science, School of Business, whatever. Then you also have the funds that you could donate to the boosters. At Florida State University is separate from Florida State Athletics. They don't mix and merge the funds. They have separate coffers for that. Is that not the way that FAMU is set up?
Now, I don't know that. That's part I have to do more research. And also, I wanted to tack on a point where it comes to donating, where Gino brought up saying, like, why doesn't FAMU go for these same resources? We do go for the same resources, just that we're also competing with Florida State, who's going to get the lion's share of it because they're able to, match with the donations at a higher level than we could. So that's just how that's going to play out until things change.
Maybe y'all can answer this question. With resources, with grants, with scholarships, with funding, isn't there always, or isn't there a lot of folks who write grants, who turn over rocks, who petition these companies and corporations to receive funds? Is that not what takes place at these schools? Somebody help me on that, educate me on that.
I mean, it probably does, but I think Javaughn made a good point about where the emphasis of the funds go. And I think like the HBCUs, I think they realistically know that if Ohio State or Florida State are packing in 80,000 people at a home game when they play a nobody, and we're getting, we can barely fill the stands up, then they probably switch their priority to when them funds come in, even from grants or alumni. And like you said, they probably put it in the pharmacy program, in the law program, and try to make those programs the magnet for the schools instead of the football team or the baseball team or the basketball team.
So we got an amphitheater. Amphitheater.
Yeah, and I like Will Packer. I'm pretty sure Will Packer probably put some money back into the FAM, maybe in whatever his field, the acting field, or whatever he does. But I mean, they've been having a problem with the the alumni bringing, like Andre Dawson and Marquise Grissom. They used to complain about them on the not bringing back to the baseball team at FAM. But it's hard to compete.
But Larry, let me say something to that point, because I have been an AD at a high school. So let me speak to this, and this is fact. Football drives revenue at colleges and universities, unless they don't have sports or your smaller markets. When football does well, when football brings in revenue, the entire school, the entire community benefits. I think that oftentimes in HBCUs, they do exactly what you guys are saying, which they put money into this program, into that program, they give. And I think that they want the success and the resources that these other schools have without using the same blueprint. And that's where the problem comes. That's where the fundamental issue is. Like, why do we have to do it a certain way and not look at or adopt successful ways to do things? And here's what I mean by that, because it comes from a different entity. And here's what I mean by that. I know even at the local level, at a high school, middle school, but even in college, when football drives revenue, football drives across the country. That's why football is now that's why we have it on Thursday, on Wednesday, on Tuesday. That's why we have it almost every day of the week. That's why there's 24/7 draft coverage, etc. Football drives revenue in this country by and large. So why can't we adopt some of the same principles that these other schools are using, which is putting our resources, pooling our resources into having adequate and above average football programs that will then turn around and drive the revenue. Example, oftentimes at these schools, like you said earlier, the coaches get a longer time to stay at the HBCU. A lot of the coaches are getting their brains beat in week in and week out. They should be terminated because it's based on performance. So we want the resources that the white PWI schools get, but we don't want to hold coaches accountable that the white PWI schools do. Secondly, FAMU Stadium, however big it is, I can't tell you the numbers. How many people does it hold? Somebody said 50,000. I don't know how many they hold. Do anybody know?
No, I don't think it's
Oh,
50,000.
okay,
I think
let's
more
say-
so
let's
like
say
30,
20
maybe
30.
30, maybe.
Okay, let's say 25,000 seats it holds. Okay, the FAMU did raise the ticket prices, but they're by and large, how graphic, how detail oriented is FAMU's donor package? I.e., you donate $1 million, we put you in some sort of suite, whether we got to build one, whether we walk you around with the president. We have creative geniuses at FAMU that have came from FAMU, but we're not tapping into the things that they could do to bring in the revenue. When FAMU sells out the stadium at $50 a ticket times $25,000, that's a lot of money.
So does Deion Sanders leaving hurt the brand of Jackson State as well as other HBCUs? What do you think about that, Larry?
Well, yeah. Immediately, I think it's a shock to the HBCUs. I mean, in the long term, I think with the blueprint, I don't think it necessarily hurts. What I hope it does, I hope it motivates to where it's like we got all these other coaches, and the only name we mentioning is Deion. Like what is he doing necessarily that different that I can't do? Eddie George is a coach, had a great football career. He doesn't have the name as Deion, but I'm pretty sure he could pick up the phone and make some calls. And that goes through most of the HBCUs. They have some sort of ties or they can pick the phone up. So my thing is, yeah, immediately, will it sting and hurt? Yeah, but I don't want people to make that as a long-term excuse for HBCUs when I would hope it'll be motivation. This should be motivation. Damn, Deion turned them around in 2 years. Let me get in my bag and see what I can do. Because quite frankly, a lot of them coaches probably were just going through the motions. You know what I'm saying? At one point in time, like, okay, and they just take whatever they take as the norm instead of pushing the buttons like Deion. And you got Aflac commercials, you got this and that and that. So now it's a wake up call, like saying, letting these people know, hey, it can be done. It can be done. So now they should be looking in the mirror like, damn, am I doing all I need to do to make? I might not get to where Deion at, with the Aflac commercials, but am I doing what I need to do to maximize the status of the program? Am I making the phone calls I need to make? You know what I'm saying? Am I bringing in NFL talent to watch some of our practices? And if not, then that's where they can start from. But immediately, yeah, but I don't want, he shouldn't be an excuse of HBCUs not getting, whatever.
And I actually want to reword that. I want to say not the brand, right? Because HBCUs exist and have thrived and existed independently of Deion Sanders. But I will say, I'll remix that and say the trajectory of where they're going. Like, is this going to be a pullback now and a reversal with him making this exodus?
It's almost like when Barack became president, it's motivating all the blacks. So it should give us motivation. It shouldn't be like, oh, his term is up, so now blacks shouldn't be involved in politics. Or the blacks in politics shouldn't be doing what they need to do to help their communities. It should be a sense of motivation. Now, will it, or will somebody else pick up the torch and run with it? That remains to be seen. And that's where we lack at. That's what I'm saying. All of the complaints and the observations that we seeing about the HBCUs is the same thing we see in our communities. We can't get together. It's always some money issue, or the money should be going here, but it ain't going there. And it's the same thing. So when you have those same people that's dealing with stuff on a different level, you're gonna run into those same problems. So that's kind of the issue.
It's always gonna be a money issue because we're in a Black community. We're getting 50 cents to the dollar what the white people getting. So it's always gonna be a money issue on that one. But
we let everybody else come into the community and take our resources.
Hey man, it's called gentrification. It's been happening for years. We're trying to stop it. And speaking of, they're gentrifying our HBCUs and taking that. So my thing is this: it is gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt us HBCUs. And do I think HBCU sports will recover? I hope. I pray it does, but it's not setting a good blueprint. If anything, it's setting like, hey, we're gonna treat HBCUs like a JUCO. We're gonna treat HBCUs like the D League. You go there, you test yourself out, you see if you can make a program stellar, and then once you get the notoriety up and build up there, we're gonna give you a shot at a D1 single A school, but not the big time ones, but just a D1 single A school with more fun. We're gonna give you a shot there and see how you grow and how you flourish. But I think that sets a bad precedent. And I don't want that to happen. I don't want, your superstar athletes that was in the NFL to say, oh, well, let me test the coaching route out at an HBCU and see if I can make something work. Because it's kind of like a lose-lose situation for us, because now you're building us up because you brought a big name there. You're the big name. You're the big shark. You're the fit in the pond. But then you're only doing that just to say, I'm going to leave. I'm going to leave whenever the single A school comes at me. I'm going to leave. So everything I brought to the school, hopefully it still comes there after I'm gone. But if it doesn't, hey, I'm already gone. It's already committing us. And then on top of that, what does this tell the players? This tells the players that decide to go to HBCU like, yo, yeah, Eddie George is going to coach at, such and such HBCU. But when he dip, I'm trying to dip with him. I'm going to be gone because the light's not going to be there. So it all depends on how this plays after. Now, if Jackson State gets the same notoriety as, post prime time, then okay. But if it doesn't, if it just comes down a little bit, it's already starting to happen. It's going to be over with. We're going to lose. And they need to stay there. They didn't want you from the jump. So why go there when you got the sauce now? Why leave when you got all this behind you? For the money, all right, I get you. Go get your check, but just realize you might be destroying something that you built. That's what I got to say on that. And he ain't SWAC. He ain't SWAC, man.
Gino, you got anything to contribute right now?
No, I just think that
I'll tell you what. Let's go ahead. We'll just go around and we'll do closeouts so everybody can do their closing comments.
Yeah, I just think that he's blazing a different trail. I think we're losing sight in the fact that he's still about imparting and attacking change. He's just doing it from a different vantage point, and I think that's very, very small-minded and cynical and selfish of a lot of folks to have some angst or some anger or resentment toward a person who poured their entire well-being into making the situation better. He came in the situation well accomplished, well off financially, didn't need the coach, probably the best athlete, arguably the best athlete in the world. And he put all that on pause to try to help bring up multitudes and millions of people. So it's just important that we keep in mind that he's still attacking change. He's just attacking it from a different vantage point, a different threshold.
I got you. Appreciate you and appreciate your comments. All right, next we're gonna go with Larry. I'll let you go ahead and close out. I think if I even said Larry, he hit the button. Go ahead. You both got something to say.
Oh no. It's a
Oh.
good it's a good conversation. I mean, and like I said, we may be able to bring somebody who actually, maybe somebody from HBCU and somebody from PWI on here, next time and just, ask them some of these general questions. But no, I mean, like I said, the Deion legacy should follow him wherever he goes. Hopefully his intention to take this job, obviously, the money is better, but it's just maybe to tap into some of these other athletes and give them a shot at D1 that they may not be getting, and just bring in exposure to that side of the field. But like with everything, we got to look in the mirror too. I mean, as much blame as we put on, or people may put on Deion for leaving and killing the HBCU, maybe momentum or brand per se. I mean, when the last time we donated to a HBCU consistently? We got 5 minutes from us. We don't consistently donate to HBCUs. So it's like we got to be the man in the mirror. Obviously our money ain't like Deion's or other people, but we don't donate to them consistently. So it's like, Deion could take the burden of the issue, but we're also part of the problem as well. I ain't gonna lie. It probably hasn't even come across my mind to donate money to HBCU. Whether it's $10, $20, $30, or whatever, or create a campaign to donate money to the HBCU, because we start relying on what other people supposed to be doing, but then we not really relying on the resources we've had.
Facts.
See what I'm saying? So it all comes down to old Michael Jackson and the man in the mirror. That'll be my conclusion.
Appreciate that. All right, Javaughn, what you got for us?
I mean,
he got Minnesota over the Jets.
Here you go. Hey, we ain't gonna talk about your team because your owner, he in the picture. We don't know his perspective, but yeah, which can kind of can kind of touch on Deion thing. All right, here's my thing though. All right, get back on subject. I think yes, you're right. Deion Sanders does not owe us anything, and when he took the position, he did say that had a 5-star, like a big program in a D1 single A sports, a TV school, was to give him the opportunity, he would entertain it. He did say that. So so we shouldn't have gotten our hopes up to think that he would stay forever when he's told us from jump that if the opportunity comes, he gonna slide because he wants to coach on that level. And I agree with all right, do what you do. This is what your ambition is. Do that. But I will say that, and I wish him the best in doing that too. I don't want him to fall on his face, because if he falls on his face there, then it's going to be 10 times worse. But I will say, like, what he has did at Jackson State was monumental, and that has shifted college sports for HBCUs. That started the conversation on a level that can be taken serious, because the conversation was always mumbles like, why not go to the HBCU? Why not play for the black school? And there were black coaches that's going to hold you down, that understand you and know you, as opposed to playing for white coaches that don't know where you come from, just going to use you. And when you get injured, hey, next man up, don't care about you. Not saying that doesn't happen at HBCU, but it definitely happens at the PWIs and the D1 single A sports. It's like, why not give the HBCUs a chance to do that shine? But I will say this, I appreciate what he did, but it's gonna leave a big stain for HBCUs, and it's gonna be a major hurdle for all HBCUs to deal with, because it's setting an example to say, like, hey, test your talents here and then go get that check. Go with the black, go with the sister that's gonna hold you down, cook you meals, help you study. But when you get that big job offer, leave her and get the white girl. That's what it's basically showing us. So, I wish him the best, but this one hurts. That's all I gotta say. He ain't SWAC, man. He ain't SWAC. He definitely ain't SWAC. He's definitely not SWAC.
All right, appreciate that. Appreciate that. So I'll go ahead and say, I think it's safe to say that all of us disagree with the sentiment that Deion is a sellout. I don't think none of us rock with that idea, think that. So let's just go ahead and make sure we close out and put that in there. And then lastly, you know, regardless if you agree with some of our views, if you disagree with some of our views, it's important that we keep the conversation going because these are healthy dialogues that need to continue. And so I appreciate all the viewers and I appreciate the panelists for joining us for this discussion. And remember that we cannot passively sit by and wait on others to do for us. Take this time to send a quick donation to your alma mater, a school you're the fan of, or the closest HBCU where you reside. And remember that this is Ignoxton. You're here for another episode of Houses of Our 10, where we have courageous conversations. Peace.